Hey there, folks. I'm Mark, in affiliation with Spectrum Pulse, and it's Billboard Breakdown.
I don't remember.
You know, it used to be that a cool down week was a bit more normal in the Hot 100. You get some time to take a deep breath, take stock of things, just regular routine. You didn't feel like you needed it. And this year, well, believe it or not, in between 21 Savage and Metro Boomin's album bomb and the one likely to come from that Ariana Grande album in a couple of weeks, I'm gonna take whatever scant respite I can get here. But let's be real, that's not quite the story of this week. No, that's in our top 10, where to my great delight, Mood by 24kGoldn and iann Dior has taken the number one. Let me stress the fact that this took the top spot at all. It's indicative of the weakness of the position and the definition of a lucky opportunity to squeeze right in, but I also can't deny that Mood was set up to succeed across the board, and it feels like a number one that got there more organically. It's not dominant in any one channel, but consistent in all of them, especially radio. As much as the charts are a hodgepodge stat pad, as I've railed about them for months, this climbing to the top feels a bit more organic overall, which is really nice to see on a song that I still really like. It hits me in the same way I know Lil Tecca's Ransom worked for some folks, or Blueberry Faygo from Lil Mosey did. It's sugary pop trap, the definition of disposable melodrama, but leaning into the fun of it, and I'm thrilled that it blew up the way it did. It's a great song. And hell, WAP by Cardi B featuring Megan Thee Stallion's right behind it at number 2, as it's still a streaming monster, especially on YouTube, even if the radio is getting rid of it rather fast. As much as I don't like that, it might be overtaken by Laugh Now, Cry Later by Drake featuring Lil Durk at number 3. Or will it? I mean, it's a question of whether better radio will beat the lag in the streaming or sales. We'll have to see. Then we got Blinding Lights by The Weeknd returning to number 4 again, mostly thanks to another good sales week and how it still rules the radio. But let's be real, it only recovered because 2 songs previously above it fell off hard. That's right, Dynamite by BTS fell down to number 5, and Savage Love by Josh 685 and Jason Derulo featuring BTS went down to number 6. This is why relying so heavily on the sales margin will kill you when it ebbs, because Dynamite is slow to catch up on the radio and Savage Love is falling off there, and neither of them have consistent streaming. I mean, the rest of our top 10 feels like an expected recovery. Rockstar by Bebe and Roddy Ricch is at number 7 as it fades in all channels. I Hope by Gabby Barrett and Charlie Puth is at number 8 because of good sales and a really strong radio week. Watermelon Sugar by Harry Styles recovered back up to number 9, even though it's bleeding radio, it's still significant there. And hell, would you look at that? Lemonade by Internet Money, Gunna, Nav, and Don Toliver actually cracked the top 10 thanks to the streaming. And with no strong radio or sales, that's going to be about as far as it will likely go, gotta say it, but I know a lot of people who like this for the same reason I like Mood, so congrats to them, I guess? Now on to our losers and dropouts. Well, it's one of those weeks where nearly all the losses are from the album bomb, and the only dropout of significance is Rain on Me by Lady Gaga and Ariana Grande, which I predicted anyway. But outside of that, and the drops for I Called Mama by Tim McGraw down to 81, and Don't Stop by Megan Thee Stallion featuring Young Thug off the debut to 53, our losses are all expected and from 21 Savage and Metro Boomin. Mr. Right Now with Drake at 24, Running at 36, Glock in My Lap at 63, Rich N-Word Shit with Young Thug down to 74, Sliding to 88, and Many Men to 94. But to compensate for all that, our list of our gains and specifically returns was massive. It really just feels like the chart snapped back hard to equilibrium, which does not say a lot about the staying power of Savage Mode 2, but that is a different conversation there. But first, let's start off with the returns, going from the bottom up. You Got It by Vito at 100, One Too Many by Keith Urban and Pink at 99, La Japita by Neo Garcia, Annual AA, Mike Towers, Beret, and Juwanka at 97, Three-Headed Goat by Lil Durk, Lil Baby, and Polo G making yet another return at 96, Put Your Records On by Rit Momney at 93, and Dolls on My Head by Gunna and Young Thug at 91. Then we had Smile by Juice WRLD and The Weeknd making an improbable return at 89, Good Time by Nico Moon at 84, U2 Love by Neo and Jeremiah at 80, and Big Big Plans by Chris Lane at 78. Really, the only song I see having persistent traction here is Better Together by Luke Combs at 69, as it is getting now pushed by Nashville as a single, so we'll see how that goes. Probably will do really well. But again, a full third of the chart picked up its gain, so let's highlight the one debut that actually picked up. Levitating by Dua Lipa featuring Bebe got a nice boost to 54. Not surprising. Then we all the losers that had rebounded for better and worse. Caramello by Ozuna at 90, Blind by DaBaby and Young Thug at 83, Casey Talk by Young Boy Never Broke Again at 82, Do It by Chloe and Holly at 77, and Relation by Sek, Rosalia, Daddy Yankee, J Balvin, and Farruko at 75. Then we had Grease by DJ Khaled featuring Drake back at 71, The Bigger Picture by Lil Baby rebound to 68, Martin and Gina by Polo G back at 67, Hit Different by SZA and Ty Dolla $ign at 66, Starting Over by Chris Stapleton at 64, Everywhere But On by Matt Stell at 62, and The Pleasant Surprise of Diamonds by Sam Smith back at 59. I told you it'd rebound, I'm honestly surprised it was this soon. And then to round out our rebounds, we had Wishing Well by Juice WRLD at 52, I Should Probably Go to Bed by Dan and Shay at 44, Rags to Riches by Rod Wave at 39, and Said Some by Moneybagg Yo at 33. It got a sizable remix, so it's probably gonna rise even more there soon. Now for the rest here, okay, BS by Jhené Aiko and Her at 76, Un Dia by J Balvin, Dua Lipa, Bad Bunny, and Taney at 73, Okay Not to Be Okay by Marshmello and Demi Lovato at 70, Ain't Always the Cowboy by John Party at 61, You Broke Me First by Tate McRae up to 57, Seven Summers by Morgan Wallen at 56, Hawaii by Maluma at 55, Love You Like I Used To by Russell Dickerson at 51, 24 by Moneyman and Lil Baby at 49, and Pretty Heart by Parker McCollum at 47. Did not expect to see this get so high. Hope it's a good foundation for him to build more interesting songs in the future. And yet to round things out, Happy Anywhere by Blake Shelton and Gwen Stefani at 45, One Beer by Hardy, Lauren Elena, and Devin Dawson finally gotten some momentum at 41, Some Girls by Jameson Rogers at 34, Kings and Queens by Ava Max holding on at 32, What You Know About Love by Pop Smoke at 29, and ILY by Surf Mesa featuring Emily at 28. Now all that only barely obscures the fact we only have 3 new debuts this week, and I think that means a return of an older segment is in order. I mean, I felt like bringing back the world hits. Oh, look at that, Billboard now has some global charts, a global 200 that I could go there and grab the first song that I would otherwise really like on that list. Now, you know, Headed Hard by Joel Corey and MNEK, it's a decent pop house cut. It would probably be my take, but I also have the feeling it could well cross over similar to Breaking Me, and it's not that interesting. So instead I'm gonna do an ideal hit, specifically surrounding a song that frankly should have been pushed a month ago. Cause it's money.
When you see me, big watch, 50 pointers in the bezel of it. Big Draco on me, you can never touch it. Try to run down, better think better of it. Told my shooter if it's smoke, then you better up it.
Let's not mince words here. This is a Griselda song that could have crossed over yesterday, pairing Conway the Machine with Armani Caesar, both coming off good albums with a great minimalist bassy tap with a deceptively catchy melodic loop from Murda Beats, and both them doing some pretty basic luxury rap flexing, but in a way it's all about riding that groove. That's one reason I tended to go back to this song in comparison with a lot of trap, which runs together and doesn't contain that low-end momentum and a melody that can play with it. And it's also why I think this is a smash that just needs the right push at the right time. Now, the biggest indictment of the song is that it does feel a bit like a Drake flip, especially in how Conway the Machine sets up some of the flow on the first verse, but he doesn't stay doing a Drake flip, and given that he's got 3 verses on the song, one of these, probably the second, could easily be swapped out on a remix for the man himself, and then you've broken 2 Griselda acts on one song, and Drake gets to pretend again that he's ahead of the game, yet again. And as I've always said with Ideal Hit, this is to highlight how a song like this could be huge beyond just its quality. The production is good enough to be flipped for any number of remixes, but you need need some real talent to ride it effectively, which could give it organic groundswell, make it a bit of a challenge, and then pair it with a great video, maybe even the right TikTok trend. I mean, I've been convinced that Griselda could be more mimetic with the right flip at the right time, and what do you know? This would become a hit. Folks in that camp who are listening, y'all have an easy break here. I'd love to see it go off. But now on to our pretty thin list of new arrivals. Let's start off with number 98, Sofia by Clairo. Oh, now this is a little bit surprising, or at least it would be if I didn't know the push behind her was coming, be it from TikTok or some very telling artist development moving in behind her. Now for those of you who don't know, Clairo is a bedroom pop artist who released her debut album last year that received some decent enough reviews. Honestly, I'm kind of kicking myself that I didn't cover it on my main channel, but when I had discovered that Rostam Batmanglij, formerly of Vampire Weekend, did all of the production, and then I peeled through some of her back-end parental connections that could have helped her get signed, well, it snapped into focus just how well connected and primed for success that Clairo was, especially when you dig up how often she's been featured on other songs in the past 4 or 5 years. Which, okay, look, I'm not gonna go all out on the industry plant accusation so much as make 2 observations. One, even in 2020 with Bia Badoobie beating her to the punch, breaking through the majority of bedroom pop, it rarely moves outside the subculture. And 2, it's very telling in the industry who is selected to get artist development and who isn't. Just saying. But with what I think is some good TikTok attention and some organic groundswell, she's charted, and wow, this has the feel of bedroom pop that's primed for the mainstream crossover. The slightly scuzzy guitar that quickly slips in behind the percussion, supplied by Danielle Hyam of all people, and the faint glossus synth that goes for a bit of the home-cooked genre mashup that feels a little thin, with the cushion of reverb wrapped around her vocals until they're allowed to be a little more lo-fi, and the guitar allowed to get blown out and distorted for a quick solo. I mean, it's got the feel of calculating a lot of the lack of polish, and that's only an observation that'll come from somebody who knows more of the organic, homegrown sound, and I am gonna blame Rostam for that way more than I will Clairo, mostly because for her part, she sounds really good. Earnest, genuinely sweet in her first flutters of longing for her crushes on Sofia Coppola and Sofia Vergara, and I guess at the end of the day, you gotta hope that a rising tide will lift all ships, and that this crossover might help others with more promise in the community that she cites behind her. I mean, it's a hope. Not one that history has always consistently supported, but in the meantime, it is a decent song, I guess. If you're curious, give it a listen. It's not bad. Number 95, Hole in the Bottle by Kelsea Ballerini. Honestly, I should not be surprised that this is the next single that Kelsea Ballerini is pushing. Nashville country is trending more towards a bit of a neo-traditional sound, so why not grab the song with some of the most twang off her entire album, but with enough rickety, contemporary-sounding pop production to fit in her lane, especially with that very on-the-nose sample that opens up the track. And I gotta be honest, with such a traditionally country chord structure, it can feel a little bit awkward to add such galumphing, slightly overemphasized drums and percussion, but it is one of those cases where the song is all about getting plastered on wine to try to avoid dealing with your feelings post-breakup, and ergo, I'm a little bit more forgiving of the clumsiness inherent in the choice. It makes sense, and as such, you know what, it's fine enough. I would argue Half of My Hometown would have been a more surefire success and a much better song, especially with Kenny Chesney backing her up there. But I should also note that about a month back, Kelsea Ballerini released an acoustic remix album of all of her last project. The acoustic remix album is called Ballerini, the original album is called Kelsea. You see the gimmick there. And the remix is actually more acoustic and has much better vocal harmonies. Gives me a bit of a Pistol Annie's vibe, and that's a nice touch. Honestly surprised that wasn't pushed. It probably could have done well too, but either way, it's good. Check it out. And finally, number 58, Baby I'm Jealous by Bebe Rexha featuring Doja.
Jealous of the girls with lighter eyes.
This team up makes sense for all the wrong reasons. Because on some level it has felt like all that hype and momentum that Doja Cat had earlier this year has started to fade away. And you know what, that's not fair. Her album dropped in late 2019, a lot's happened this year, she's been riding out singles of varying success, she's probably on the right path, maybe it's just how none of it's felt all that substantial to me, which makes pairing her with Bebe Rexha feel very oddly timed. I mean, was this a team up to give both their careers a jolt? But okay, maybe the song would be good, and I don't even think I can finish that sentence. Because this is bad in a rather awkward way. Not on the production side, which is actually a step up for Bebe Rexha in that the guitar has some brighter rollick opposite the darker synth groove. There's polish there, and if the tempo might have been a bit quicker, I could probably appreciate it more. No, it comes with our ladies here, overcompressed vocals and all. And I'm gonna start off with Bebe Rexha, because this is a continuation of a lot of the issues that came over from expectations. Overselling the self-critical melodrama, but not able to make it fun, which is why this entire song circles around the curdled feeling of being jealous for reasons that she inside knows are bullshit. It's a song that stews in itself, and jealousy is not an emotion that really lends itself to a cathartic wallow. But then comes Doja Cat, who plays the hot girl who might have stolen Bebe Rexha's guy, but turns out he was trash anyway, so again, there's no need to fuss here. But the emotional focus is muddy. Just telling Bebe Rexha that her man was trash for looking at Doja Cat, that's not going to make her insecurity go away. In fact, it might only even amplify it, especially given how successful Doja Cat's been. Or maybe it's just how they have little to no chemistry on their vocal delivery, and Bebe Rexha tries to rap on her second verse and it sounds awkward as all hell. But even beyond that, for a pop song, I do not see this sticking. It doesn't have any radio now as it is. It basically got on the charts thanks to a sales gimmick, and it's sour and jerky in a way that flatters nobody. Given how much money they obviously threw behind the video, that might be a really bad sign. But yeah, pretty obvious worst of the week, even though we did not have a lot to consider there, so kind of wins by default. But the best, honestly, Hole in the Bottle mostly holds up for what it is from Kelsea Ballerini, so I'm going to give it the slightest edge, more thanks to the Ballerini remix, if I'm being honest. Now, for the next week, we might have another breather before Ariana Grande takes over everything, depending on when her singles drop. We will have to see. But until then, I'm Mark, you're watching Billboard Breakdown, affiliate of Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.